And a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, respected speakers, participants present here, and those joining us virtually through Zoom. I am Biniva Maharjan, Program Officer at Shubhashree College of Management, and it is an honor and privilege to serve as the host for today's session. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this important hybrid meeting organized by IANSA in collaboration with Shubhashree College of Management. Today's discussion is focused on the United Nations Program of Actions on Small Arms and Light Weapons, bringing together representatives from civil society and government stakeholders across the Asia region. Before we officially commence the program, I would like to kindly request Manta ma'am to welcome our distinguished guests who are physically present here today with Khada as a token of respect, honor and appreciation. It is my honor to warmly welcome Member of Parliament, Nepal, and the chief guest of today's program. Welcome to Mr. Dipayan Basumbe, and one of our distinguished speakers for today's session, and distinguished speaker of today's program. Welcome Dr. Zen, and a sincere welcome to Mr. Biswanatha Muktupuram, founder, member of SF and URI, our respected guest of honor. Shubhashree College of Management, Kathmandu, and member of the International Board of the World Federalists. Without further delay, let us officially commence today's session. To deliver the welcome remarks and provide the context and significance of today's program, I would like to respectfully invite Mrs. Monita Bosnet-Oli, Principal of Shubhashree College of Management, Kathmandu, and member of the International Board of the World Federalist Movement.
Distinguished guests, respected speakers, guests in the front row, and my dear students. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important program on gun control in preparation for the BMS 9 meeting at the United Nations in June. Actually, I requested Mr. James to provide me this opportunity to organize this program at Shubhashree College of Management, which he agreed, and thank you so much for that one. Because I wanted our students to know how the small arms are creating huge impact in our society. Not in a good way, but you know that in a wrong way. So today's discussion provides a valuable platform to reflect on the global challenges posed by the illicit trade and misuse of small arms and light weapons, and to explore the importance of international cooperation, responsible policies, and peace-building initiatives. As we prepare for the upcoming BMS 9 meeting at the UN New York, this program offers an opportunity to share perspectives, strengthen awareness, and encourage meaningful dialogue among youth, academics, civil society representatives, and policymakers. Student leadership from more than 3 decades. During her student years, she served as president of the Free Students Union at Padma Kanya Multiple Campus, and was also associated with Nepal Student Union, and as a central committee member, she was also an active member of South Asian Federalists previously. In Parliament, she currently serves as a member of the Women and Social Affairs Committee, where she focuses on women's leadership, social inclusion, and regional development issues. Our guest of honor and speaker, Mr. Dipayan Basu, is an international peace and disarmament expert, currently serving as director of the United Nations Regional Center for Peace and Disarmament in Asia and the Pacific, a regional office in the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs based in Kathmandu. He resumed the role in June 2023, if I'm not wrong. With more than 2 decades of expertise, Mr. Basu has worked extensively in arms control, human security, conflict and armed violence reduction, organization, industry and public service, focusing on conflict prevention, peace building and armed controls. He worked as Deputy Director and Head of Programs for the Ghana National Commission on Small Arms. With over 13 years of experience in treaty negotiation and implementation with special emphasis on, but not limited to the Arms Trade Treaty, UN Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons, the ITI, Firearms Protocols and ECOWAS, Convention on Small Arms. Johnson's holds a Masters of Business Administration from the University of Ghana Business School. Our another speaker, Dr. James Arpadaras, after teaching social work for 3 years at Madras Christian College, worked in conflict and post-conflict countries for over 2 decades. Serving as CEO with leading INGOs like South Asia Partnership, Action Aid and Oxfam, among others, he has worked in Afghanistan for 14 years until 2022. He has PhD degree in social policy from Tata Institute and postgraduate diploma in international relationship from Stockholm University. James has been passionate about international peace, justice and control arms issues. He had developed a model for community-based peace building. He was an NGO speaker at the first UN conference on small arms and light weapons held in UN headquarters New York in 2001. And in 2024, now will attend in BMS 9 June. He has traveled to 54 countries and has a dozen books to his credit. For religious freedom and service, Civil International and trustee of Hearts for Hearts, CICI, which performs totally free cardiac surgeries for the deprived people in Chennai. Our another guest of honor is Mr. Mohammad Ayatullah Rahman. Sorry if I pronounced wrong. Mr. Rahman has been involved in URI. He is a youth leader, social activist and founder director of Nepal UNITES under the Global Unites, which has youth activities in 20 countries. Born in a Muslim family and raised in a Hindu household in Nepal, he strongly believes in humanity, inclusion and in interfaith harmony. He has worked in youth empowerment, peace building, social justice, leadership and human rights initiatives at both national and international levels. He also has experience in print, digital and television journalism, using media as a platform for social change and community voices. Rahman holds a bachelor degree in English, literature and a master's degree in sociology from Tribhuvan University and believes young people have the power to create positive changes in society. Similar, as a guest, we have got Mrs. Renu Tuladar. Also, we have got Mrs. Yes, thank you so much for joining. We have or something. We have got ECSIT coordinator, Mr. Vivek Singh, with us. We have got our examiner, Mr. Adhikari. We have got our program coordinator, Ms. Vinika Maharjan. Our library, Mr. Dhiras, and dear students. Now, last but not the least, myself, organizer and a program host for today. Myself, Manita Uli Basnit, a PhD scholar from Kathmandu University School of Education, an MBA from Australia, an active staff member and board, and currently I hold a board of member in World Federalist Movements. Currently, I am a principal of Shubhashree College of Management, a college affiliated to Pokhara University, offering courses BBA, BHM and BCS. It is one of the Nepal's most recognized multidisciplinary institution, a place where academic excellence, global ambition and human development are covered. The proud recipient of the International Icon Award 2025 and Best Multidisciplinary College for Holistic Education and Career Development. I would like to express Sincere gratitude to all organizing partners, speakers, guest of honors, students and participants for your valuable presence and contribution in face-to-face and via online. I hope today's session will be productive, insightful and inspiring for everyone. Thank you and once again welcome, and I wish the program a great success. Thank you so much.
Welcome Dr. James to deliver a presentation on the UN Program of Action and the key issues before PMS9.
When she was only 20, Manita joined when she was only 18. We were all young people in South Asia. Our goal was to strengthen SAARC. I'm sorry, it's not meeting anymore. But we want to strengthen regional cooperation. And every year, two people from South Asia used to attend Federalist seminar in Italy, Benetone, to gain more knowledge about regional unification. And every time SAARC summit is held, if it is held in 2001 and 2004 in Pakistan, we were there having a press conference asking for a regional security plan, which we don't have. But in 2002, we were very successful when it was held in Kathmandu, that the Secretary General Nihal Rodrigo helped us to frame a regional convention on trafficking on women and children. Mind you, this is the only region in the whole world to have a regional convention, the first one to have. But anyway, this afternoon I am trying to go to the Secretariat, because the implementation plan is not fully designed and done, so it's very important. So the Asian Youth Center act locally, because most of our global problem, whether there's a water shortage in a village or drought, everything is because of pollution and environment problems, which is done by somebody else. Chernobyl nuclear disaster did not respect the LOC between India and Pakistan. So it crossed everywhere. So therefore we all said we should be engaged with international policies to bring changes in the villages. And that's why many of the Asian Youth Center became member of the World Federalist Movement, and we used to attend the Convention on the Rights of the Children Conference, and also we had a campaign for ICC ratification, because WFM was the international headquarters for ratification of international. We are very happy Reena Uprati that you are with us. And there is also another member, Pratima Gautam, who was former member of the parliament. She is attending some political meeting somewhere. Those days I remember, they all used to travel in scooty. They put me at the back of the scooty and I used to be very scared because they used to drive very fast all over to Padma Kalyan College and other political meetings. So I am so proud of you, Reena. Okay, so the reason, the focus of this presentation is only two. I will let me put it very shortly. Nepal had a huge problem, civil war. Many of you have seen it. And other countries in the region, Sri Lanka also had a civil war. And parts of India, there were, insurgencies here and there. In fact, one person even told me there are 4 people killed in this violence within India in tribal areas than the bigger wars in other countries. So, where do these guys get arms? The installment start after 6 months. You come and get the key. Why? Because every day, because of the mold, 400 cars are produced. And it has to be sold. The same way, weapons, once produced, must be sold. Can you show it? I want to quote what Arundhati Roy once said, that earlier we were producing weapons to sell. Now we are producing wars to sell weapons. We are producing wars to sell weapons. And let me ask you a question. Who benefits from this so-called America and Iran war? Who is benefiting?
The one who produces the weapons. The one who's producing the weapons are more benefited than the one who's going for the war.
You read my notes? No. Yeah, very true, Reena. See, I lived for 14 years in Afghanistan. 14 years. And we all expected something great to happen. The people of Afghanistan did not benefit. And whatever women had development, education, all that has gone back. So much of billions of dollars were spent. And even today, when I go there, I can't even say this road was built by America. It was subcontracting, and finally what reaches here was very less. And the people of Afghanistan did not benefit. It is only the arms manufacturing countries who benefited from these wars. And weapons are the most profitable products in the world today. And I remember in 2001, when we had the first UN conference on small arms, many of us were interested in, first resolution. Donabaki was the president at that time, said, ban on export to non-state actors. Because just the previous year in 2000 in Bamako, Mali, they had a meeting, the heads of states in Africa. Because that time, except Ethiopia and Eritrea, the rest of the conflicts in Africa were state versus non-state. So they felt the problem of non-state actors. And then even though the Geneva Convention would say that don't export weapons to these countries which are having conflict, they will go through the back door, as Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and somehow it will pass through Sierra Leone. They will across the border, they will pass through. And 500,000 guns, weapons were scheduled to reach Afghanistan, but it never reached. It was the transit points like Nepal, Pakistan, others, they started using those guns. And so the transit points, Nepal conflict was mainly because of that, become the end users. Couple of slides, I have repeated some of this. And this, if you enter New York, we find that we all say that the weapons of war should be used as plowshares. And human security is all about fear. Freedom from fear, freedom from want, freedom from hunger and poverty. That's the kind of security we want, not the gun security. And this is a three-tiered strategy for peace, community-based peace building, and national level, which I'm going to explain. So, my colleagues, whenever they go to Pakistan and return from to Afghanistan, I ask them, what did you bring? I thought they'll buy some electronic gadgets or something. They said, we bought some couple of guns. Because there is Dara Agam Kale, where guns are sold as vegetables. So they buy that. So I was working in USA, US State Department. So Akin Bari was ambassador, his wife was also working in the USA. So I was trying to convince him, bring gun licensing when you are ruling. And many of my colleagues were worried, they'll take away guns. Gun licensing is only to regulate guns, because there are many parts in the world today where people need guns for their own security. Even in places like Manipur and places like that, both the groups are having guns. But we need to regulate them and bring them into licensing regime. This is the current global crisis. And in Iran war, they spent $29 billion. And as of today, there are 200 million stolen small arms in the world today, according to Interpol. And 83 million people are living internal displacement. Trump doesn't care who goes where, who suffers where. People are suffering around the world, and this guy is happily getting more money for military budget. And the International Action Network on Small Arms, there are several NGOs in 100 countries. We are all volunteers, we are not paid workers, but we are committed to this because many of us, I would call myself as a humanitarian workers. When the war was there in Sri Lanka, I was there for 8 years in Jaffna and Kilinochchi and places like that. And our staff used to carry the wounded soldiers because the government will not carry because they are all LTT soldiers. And our motto is save lives, and we are neutral in the conflict. So I have seen so much of blood. And then after Sri Lanka, Afghanistan. And then many of my colleagues went to Libya. And then South Sudan. So our job was going from place to place. Then at a point of time, we all thought, we are doing only bandage work. Actually, bandage work. We have to prevent conflicts. In fact, along with the government of Canada, we developed what is called as RTP, responsibility to protect. But anyway, it's still not working. So we have to do something about gun control. That's why we are in this business today. And also we have ICJ, International Court of Jurists. I mean, they are good for negotiating and dialogue. One can do it there. But somehow, the arms manufacturing lobby, NRA, is very strong. They will want the governments to buy more arms and to go to war. And also I tell you what you and I can do. See, NGOs and the government are two sides of the same coin. Many international treaties, whether it is humanitarian law, evolved long time back, or Red Cross Code of Conduct, or Arms Trade Treaty, or ICC, it all initiated by NGOs. And then of course the UN puts the official stamp. And the environment also. Scope and other things. Initially, in fact during the UN meetings I realized, there are side events. Many government representatives would come and listen to what we are talking. And then they will go back and speak at the UN meeting. Because most of the information here, it is a civil society which is guiding. So, don't think everything should be done by the government. Greta in Sweden, how she started a campaign on environment. Any individual start an action, but you will be joined from people around the world. So many of us are working on many of these issues by joining with others. So these are the key nutshell about UNPA. Strengthen border control, land, sea. You don't have sea anyway. In fact, I remember when Manita first came to Mahabalipuram beach as youth conference, they loved jumping into the sea because Nepal doesn't have the sea. UN conference 2004. Marking and tracing is very important of weapons. I'll tell you an example. When I was living and working in Sri Lanka along with Safe World colleagues, we traveled to Jaffna and we went to the junkyard. And in the junkyard you will find the remnants of the weapons. And we found something which was looking horrible, and it's a cluster bomb. And we asked the children, they said, any bomb when it falls from the air we can understand, and we'll immediately go under the table, but this one there is no chance, you can't escape, because cluster bomb, like splinters it goes. And then we want to find out who sold it to Sri Lanka. We couldn't find any markings. That is why marking and tracing of weapons is very much important, which is now in the Arms Trade Treaty. And we know that it is South African government which normally supplies those arms. Pilferages are also very important. Not only for the military and also for the police. Because, your neighboring state in India, Bihar, by a survey long time back, the state informal survey is called as 3,500 illegal manufacturing units, gun units. But they don't make bullets. Bullets come from government stockpiles. So therefore, pilferages from the government stockpile is happening. So stockpile management is very important. And also brokering that. There needs to be regulation. There needs to be transparency and accountability and other laws. Export control. There is one country in the region, I don't want to mention name. It is exporting weapons to 100 countries in the world. Because why? Because they want to grow their economy. So therefore the Arms Trade Treaty actually says that there should be a transparency of whom you are exporting your weapons to. Nepal in its report in 2024 mentioned that they wanted technical assistance in data bank management. And Nepal had Arms and Ammunition Act of 2019, Nepal Police Act of 2017. Actually, mind you, this region, of course, British didn't rule India. Didn't rule Nepal that much, like the rest of the region. But I think 1798 Firearms Act of Britain, it is still followed in many countries. Limited amendments are being brought. And I'm mentioning again UNRCD. UNRCD in 2022 had a meeting with the government of women in maintaining small arms control and contribution to women, peace and security agenda. And we're very happy when Arms Trade Treaty came because it's the first legally binding document on arms control in a few weeks from now. and also gender and youth for the first time had a focus in the 2024. And we had a declaration, renewed commitment to peace, security and sustainable development in preventing, combating and eradicating illicit trade in small arms and light weapons in all its aspects, and enhancing international cooperation assistance. What you can do as students, if you are living in a village, if you know that somebody is having the carry, guns, you just report to the village head or the women's group. They will handle it. In fact, we did the same thing in Sri Lanka, where the village head said, I know guys, we have guns, but I want the guns to come to my house in the night and we take it in the morning. I don't want anything to happen in the night. So the village heads everywhere in this region have a very strong control. But you need to report who is having guns. Because the boys very casually speak. In Delhi and all that, it's too bad because the sons of the members of the parliament have guns. Because it's a status symbol. Anybody owning guns whom you know, either, more than the police, I would say, report to the village head or the local head. They will handle it. So 3D printing is a big thing, and the drones also is a big issue, and unrelated brokers and stockpiling, and violation of international humanitarian laws and treaties. What is happening in Iran war is total violation. Global action needed is, in fact, we are going to stress this export to non-state actors and ICJ jurisdiction, and recognize arms trade as a war economy driver, limit the production down.
To share the context from the perspective of UNRCP.
Students and those of us joining us online, good morning. It is such a privilege to join you all today on behalf of the United Nations Regional Center for Peace and Disarmament in Asia and the Pacific, or UNRCPD. And we're based right here in Kathmandu. I'd first just like to sincerely thank our dear colleagues from the International Action Network on Small Arms, or IANSA, the South Asian Federalists, United Nations Trust Facility supporting cooperation on arms regulation, or UNSCAR, which is providing funding for a lot of the work on small arms, and of course our hosts, the Shubhashree College of Management, for organizing today's seminar in preparation of the 9th biennial meeting of states for the UN Programme of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Now that's a mouthful of a lot of jargon. Basically to say, it took us 30 years of work on arms control to finally come to a political agreement, which is the POA, just so that we could all be on the same page. So we could all recognize that the trade and the transfer of weapons is fundamentally different to that of the trade and transfer of cars, of bananas, of textbooks. In fact, up until 2013, believe it or not, there were more laws and legislation on the transfer of bananas, on this international sale of bananas, than there was on weapons. Let that sink in. So that's the work that we're trying to do, right? At the UN and amongst my colleagues, my professional colleagues, the diplomats, the academics, we speak in jargon. We speak in very specific terminology that each of us will relate to and understand. But it's my job to boil it down for all of you. So all of you understand what your stake in the work that we do is all about. So today's work, and today's event really, is predicated on the reality that governments alone cannot address armed violence issues and cannot tackle the illicit proliferation of small arms and light weapons. It's not possible for one entity to do so. It requires cooperation between governments, between civil society, between educators, between young people, and international organizations such as the United Nations, all working towards a shared goal. And what is that? That is of protecting communities and preserving peace. So I'd like to take a moment just to situate the role of the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs and its Asia Pacific Regional Center. also known as the United Nations Regional Center for Peace and Disarmament in Asia and the Pacific. Now, before I forget, I apologize. For whatever reason, the United Nations is incapable of coming up with short names. So everything has a very, very long name. I'd like you to look up what the UNPOA actually stands for. I believe it's a half a paragraph, and that's just the title. Similarly, the RCPD, we also have a bit of a mouthful, so we'll stick with RCPD. Basically, the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs is based in New York, and it has a headquarters in New York and Geneva, and we support all of the 57 countries of Asia Pacific from our office here. Everybody with me? Make sense? Okay. So we were established in 1987 by the UN General Assembly, and our goal is to support peace, disarmament, and cooperation on security and peace efforts across Asia and the Pacific. Now, our work is organized around 4 thematic pillars and 2 cross-cutting pillars. So the first pillar that is relevant to our work today is conventional arms control. Conventional arms are basically everything from your bullet through to the aircraft carrier and everything in between. Right? Whether that's weapons, ammunition, missiles, tanks, drones, ships, aircraft, helicopters, and so on. Our second pillar of work is on weapons of mass destruction, and that is nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons, and radiological weapons. And why are they called weapons of mass destruction? Because they're indiscriminate, and when one of these weapons is used, we cannot control and predict the scale of the destruction. They're called weapons of mass destruction. And then we also have a pillar of work on emerging technologies. Some of it might be quite interesting because it's sentences where I just refer to acronyms. But that we translate that to all of you. Because ultimately the work that we do has to be owned by you. It has to be driven by you, it has to be informed by you, and it has to be taken forward by you. Because ultimately it affects you. It's your safety, your security, your ability to flourish. So disarmament education is a really important part of the work that we do. And it's one of the few bits of work that is a conversation. We work with you. We try and understand what it is that you need. We try and understand how we can support the work that you want to do. And we build your capacity to do so. Now we also have 2 cross-cutting pillars across these 4 pillars. And that's because they're applicable in all of the work that we do. One is on empowering women and on women, peace, and security. You know, it's been proven time and time again that the only way peace negotiations are successful is if women are involved and are driving that consensus. I've given you a sense of the work that we do, and I'm going to be very practical here. We support 57 countries across Asia Pacific, from Lebanon right the way through to the island nation of Kiribati and everything in between. And we work on weapons of mass destruction, on conventional arms, on artificial intelligence, on disarmament education, on women, peace and security, and youth peace. How many people do you think I have in my team? Any guesses? Anyone? 4. It's not possible for my team to lead this work. So we have to work in a partnership model. Hence, we're here, and hence we want to work closely with our colleagues. And so this is especially important when it comes to working on small arms and light weapons. Right? I'm hoping you all understand the difference between small arms and light weapons. It's a technical term, but a small arm is something that an individual uses. A light weapon usually requires crews of 2 or 3 people. Right? Now, as you're all acutely aware, these weapons are inexpensive, they're portable, and they don't give a damn about borders. Their effects are felt not only in conflict zones, but across communities. They undermine development, they weaken institutions, and they threaten human security. And this is why the international community, in 2001, that's what, nearly 25 years ago, adopted the UN Programme of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons. The actual name is much longer, I kid you not, it is a paragraph. But the shorthand of it is the UNPOA. So the POA remains the primary global framework for preventing and combating the illegal trade Not the legal trade, the illegal trade in small arms and light weapons. So when the government of Nepal, for the use by, let's say, its military or the use by the APF, when they purchase and procure weapons for their armed forces, for peace and security reasons inside the country, that is a legitimate purchase. But when the Taliban reaches out and picks up a bunch of weapons while it's in opposition, while it's a non-state actor, that is an illegal transfer. There is a recognition that governments hold legality in purchase, and everyone else who's not legally responsible to have those weapons, well, that's an illegal transfer. Okay? It's a very specific legal definition here. And so the POA remains the primary framework for us. It has a lot of different components to it, which pushes states to have political commitments, not legal commitments, political commitments, on things like weapons tracing, on national legislation, on marking and tracing, on stockpile management, on cooperation and information sharing. Now, these are all quite kind of technical terms, but if you're interested, there is a whole world of research out there for you to whet your appetite. So the upcoming meeting that will happen in June is the biennial meeting of states for the UN Program of Action, which means it meets every 2 years. So this is the 9th biennial meeting of states, meaning it's been going on for 18 odd years. And it will meet in New York to discuss a number of these emerging challenges. Now, BMS is particularly important because it gives us a chance to all sit down together and talk about some of these issues. And some of the biggest problems that James identified earlier includes things like trafficking networks. So for example, there was this really famous case where a weapon was recovered from LTTE soldiers in Sri Lanka. It was an M16 rifle, and all rifles have markings on them. Right? It's like the product code, if you will. They traced that particular marking. They found that that weapon had come to Sri Lanka from Nicaragua. They kept tracing. How did it end up in Nicaragua? It came from Vietnam. Which means that American soldiers in the 70s who were in Vietnam had that weapon stolen by the Viet Cong, who then used it through the duration of the Vietnam War. Then they sold it on to the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, who then sold it on to the LTTE. Right? And the only way we can find out where these weapons have come from is through that marking and tracing piece. So it's really important, right? There are a number of different ways in which we can deal with this. And so our office in particular, we've been working really closely with governments, with civil society, with partners around the region, not only to enable government officials to be really well-versed, to be really switched on to the conversations that will happen in New York, but also our civil society partners, and to give them the platform, to give them the space so that they too can get involved and engaged in these conversations. And this is where organizations such as IANSA, such as the Federalist movement, they play a vital role in strengthening advocacy and cooperation. And importantly, it also doubles down on the fact that our office needs to work with you if we want to have any impact. So look, I've talked a little bit about partnership, but I just want to take a moment and go a little bit off script here, because our office really strongly believes in the power of young people. I'm going to look at all of you individually, and I'm going to say to you this much. You have, listen very carefully, you have no idea how powerful you are. You have no idea. And I really want you to understand that power that you hold individually and as a collective. Has any one of you heard of the ICJ advisory opinion on the obligations of states on climate change? It's quite a technical thing. Basically, a group of your peers from the island nation of Vanuatu were discussing amongst themselves how badly climate change has hit Pacific Island countries. And they said, this is not fair. We haven't caused any of this, right? Climate change affects people across borders, whether you are the one spewing all the greenhouse gases or not. They decided, this group of university students, to send a request to the International Court of Justice to provide an advisory opinion on the legal obligations of countries to prevent the harms of climate change. Group of students, just like yourselves. And it has become the landmark legal case on which every bit of climate litigation is going to go forward. In fact, just yesterday, the General Assembly also voted through a resolution in the United Nations that doubles down on this. Forced all governments in future to be mindful of their legal obligations to protect their citizens from the ravages of climate change. That was a group of university students, your peers. You have no idea how powerful you are. And all it takes for all of you is to take your creative solutions and find the networks to share those ideas, to understand how you build these movements. And then come to us, come to Manita, come to James, and we will give you our platform so you can share the solutions that you will need for the future. There is one really strong contingency of young people that I want you all to know about and learn from. And that's the youth constituency in the climate change negotiations, also known as YOUNGO. They have a very, very, very powerful slogan, which every climate change negotiator shudders when they hear. And I want that to happen in disarmament. Do you know what that slogan is? I want you all to remember this and memorize it. Nothing about us without us. Nothing about the future of our world on disarmament without the young people who will inherit that future. Makes sense, right? I really want you to hold that. I really want you to drive that forward, because that is how we're going to actually achieve some change in the world that we are today. And that's because peace requires participation. Participation requires dialogue. And both require people, young and old, willing to work across institutions and borders. So look, our Asia Pacific region is incredibly diverse, but we share common aspirations: stability, development, dignity, and peace. And all of these goals can only be achieved by working together. So I will conclude here by just saying that let us invest in prevention, let us invest in dialogue, let us find different ways to work together, and let us find ways to leverage all of your creativity for the solutions that we need that our generation has not been able to solve. So my office remains committed to supporting not only member states, but civil society partners, young people, to engage meaningfully, not just with the POA, but with all disarmament, arms control, and peace processes. And I really look forward to bumping into all of you in all our future endeavors. Please feel free to reach out to me in my office at any time. I thank the organizers once again for giving me the opportunity to address all of you, and I wish you all a really productive and inspiring seminar ahead.
At this moment, it is my honor to invite respected chief guest, Mrs. Rina Upreti, Member of Parliament, Nepal, to deliver the chief guest honors. Thank you.
उपस्थित हुनुभएका आदरणीय व्यक्तित्वहरू, जुन क्षेत्रमा उहाँहरूले विशिष्ट योगदान दिएर आइराख्नु भएको छ। जेम्स मैले धेरै अगाडि 1998 देखि चिन्जान छ। उहाँ कन्फ्लिक्ट र द्वन्द्व कन्फ्लिक्टको क्षेत्रमा काम गरिराख्नु भएको छ। मुद्दा त्यस्तै रेमडी एवाइसीमा काम गरेको मैले 98 देखि म जान्दछु हैन। त्यस्तै गरी उहाँहरू काम गरिराख्नु भएको रहेछ। आज म विद्यार्थी भाइ बहिनीहरूसँग छु। मलाई पद्मकन्या क्याम्पसको याद आयो। पद्मकन्या क्याम्पसमा हामी पढ्दै गर्दाखेरि म झापा जिल्लामा जन्मिएका थिएँ। म त्यो बेला स्कुल सरकारी स्कुल पढेर आएको, 1 घन्टा स्कुल हिँडेर जानु पर्थ्यो। त्यो वातावरणबाट म आएको। मैले मेरो ब्याकग्राउन्ड भन्नुपर्दाखेरि म 2046 सालको जनआन्दोलनमा पञ्चायती व्यवस्थाका विरुद्ध हामीले हाम्रो हक अधिकार बोल्न पाउनुपर्छ, सुन्न पाउनुपर्छ भनेर हामीले आवाज उठाएका थियौँ। त्यो बेला म त्यो 19 वर्षको उमेरमा म म लगायत मेरो परिवारबाट बहिनी थिए ठुलो बुवाहरू हुनुहुन्थ्यो हामी सबैजना जेल परेर यो ठाउँसम्म आइपुग्यो हामी तपाईँहरूको उमेरमा अहिले तपाईँहरू +2 पढेर यो ठाउँमा आउनुहुन्छ डिप्लोमा पढ्न आउनुहुन्छ हामी घर छोडेर पहिलोचोटि म 46 सालको जनआन्दोलन सकेर जेलबाट निस्किसकेपछि एसएलसी पास भएर पद्मकन्या क्याम्पस पढ्न आएको पद्मकन्या क्याम्पसमा पढ्न आउँदाखेरि हामीले सङ्गठनलाई सँगसँगै लग्यौँ म नेपाली काङ्ग्रेससँग आबद्ध मान्छे हो नेपाल विद्यार्थीसँग आबद्ध थिएँ त्यो वातावरणबाट हुर्किँदै त्यो सङ्गठनहरू गर्दै जाँदाखेरि एक दिन हामीलाई डम्बरजी थापा सर हुनुहुन्थ्यो हामीलाई इङ्ग्लिस पढाउनुहुन्थ्यो युनियनको मेरो सभापति एक्सपायर हुनुभएको थियो उहाँले आएर भन्नुभयो ल यस्तो यस्तो कार्यक्रम छ तिमीहरू पार्टिसिपेट भइदेऊ भन्नुभयो र हामी दिल्लीबाट चेन्नई त्यो बेलाको विद्यार्थी अवस्था प्रशस्ति पैसा हुँदैन थियो हामीसँग होइन प्रशस्ति पैसा पनि हुँदैन थियो अनि टिकट त हामीलाई पठाइदिएको थियो टिकटको पैसाले हामीले दुईजना हामी साथी ट्रेनमा गएर दिल्लीबाट चेन्नई ट्रेनमा गएर कलकत्ता घुमेको इतिहास पनि हो त्यतिखेर अनि कलकत्ताबाट हामी वीरगञ्ज आयौँ वीरगञ्जबाट अनि काठमाडौँ आएको थियौँ त्यसरी पनि यो सङ्गठनमा हामीले काम गरे हो र काम गर्दै जाँदाखेरि त्यसपछि मलाई 2009मा जेएनसीले न्युयोर्क बोलाउनुभयो त्यो कार्यक्रममा त्यसमा गएँ र आज यो ठाउँमा आइपुग्दा मलाई के लागेको छ भने गन कन्ट्रोल कसरी गर्ने भने उत्पादन गर्न कन्ट्रोल गर्नु पर्यो पब्लिक नागरिक सुरक्षाका लागि सरकारले गन खरिद गर्छ अनि आफ्ना सुरक्षा कर्मीहरूलाई प्रदान गरेर त्यो सुरक्षा कर्मीहरूले हाम्रो नागरिकको सुरक्षा गर्ने तर अहिले गन चाहिँ राजनीतिक परिवर्तनका लागि र जुन समूहले गनहरू प्रयोग गरिरहेको छ अहिले केमिकल वेपन्सको कुरा आएको छ अहिले इरानमा जुन वेपन्सहरू प्रयोग गरिरहेको छ एकदमै अत्याधुनिक रूपमा प्रयोग गरिरहेको छ साधारण वेपन्सको मारमा त हामी परिसक्यौँ बाङ्लादेश परिसक्यो श्रीलङ्का परिसक्यो त्यो पनि त एक किसिमको वेपन्स हो नि गन मात्रैलाई चाहिँ वेपन्स लिनु भएन अहिले डिजिटल प्लेटफर्महरूबाट वेपन्सहरू बनाउन सिकाइएको छ कानुनको दायरामा ल्याउने काम भएको छैन तपाईँहरूले अब एकदमै युथ हुनुहुन्छ त्यो उमेर समूह हुनुहुन्छ त्यो उमेर समूहमा हुँदाखेरि म अन्तको उदाहरण दिन चाहन्न नेपालकै हेर्नुहोस् बाङ्लादेशकै हेर्नुहोस् कि साउथ एसिया भयो त्यो श्रीलङ्काको हेर्नुहोस् श्रीलङ्कामा हुँदाखेरि नेपालमा भाष्य निर्माण भइसकेको थियो श्रीलङ्का बनाइदिन्छौँ भनेर 2079 सालको हामी निर्वाचनमा जाँदै गर्दाखेरि त्यो बेला यो देशको प्रमुखले श्रीलङ्काको नबनोस् भनेर सचेत गराउनु आखिरी श्रीलङ्कामा सिज फायर पछाडि रेणु दिदी र म गएको थियौँ है निर्वाचनको इलेक्सन अब्जर्भर भएर त्यहाँ इलेक्सन अब्जर्भर भएर जाँदाखेरि वेपन्सहरू सबै सरकारलाई बुझाइएको अवस्था थियो शान्तिपूर्ण रूपमा त्यहाँ चुनाव भएको थियो त्यतिखेर जेम्सजी श्रीलङ्कामै काम गर्नुहुन्थ्यो हामीलाई बोलाइदिने के अरे मर्लिँदै श्रीलङ्काको त्यो सबैले प्याकेटलाई बोलाउनु भएको थियो वर्ल्ड वाइज रूपमा उहाँले बोलाउनु भएको थियो त्यो बोलाउँदाखेरि त्यहाँ महेन्द्र राजापाक्सेले जित्छन् भनेको थियो त्यस्तै यहाँ अहिले नेपालमा जस्तो परिणाम भयो त्यहाँ रणेन्द्र विक्रमसिंहले जित्नुभयो पछि त्यो अनएक्सपेक्टेड रिजल्ट त्यतिखेर त्यहाँ पनि आयो त्यसपछि बाङ्लादेशको अहिले हेर्नुहोस् जुन वेपन्सहरू हतियारहरू बाङ्लादेशमा प्रयोग गरियो त्यो नेपालमा प्रयोग छ यो वेपन्सको कुरा गनको कुरो कन्ट्रोल गर्ने भनेको सरकारसँग रिलेटेड हुन्छ सत्ता परिवर्तनसँग रिलेटेड हुँदो रहेछ भन्ने मैले चाहिँ महसुस गरेको छु चाहे आसाममा पनि अहिले इन्डियामा पनि भइरहेको छ आखिर वेपन्सकै भरमा नागरिकहरूलाई तर्साएर सरकारबाट आफ्नो नीतिहरू लागू गर्ने अफगानिस्तानमा त्यत्रो वर्ष बसेको एउटा जातीय समूहले त्रास देखाएर नागरिकहरूलाई आफूले धार्मिक आस्थाका आधारमा आफ्ना नागरिकहरूलाई आफूले के गरिरहेको छ भने सत्ता परिवर्तन गरेर पनि त्यहाँ आत्मसन्तुष्टि पब्लिकमा भएको छैन त्यो अवस्था नआउनको लागि यो सरकारसँग यो आन्दोलनकारी ग्रुपहरूले र ठुला शक्ति राष्ट्रहरूले आफ्नो व्यापारका लागि पनि यी वेपन्सहरू प्रयोग भइरहेको छ त्यसलाई कन्ट्रोल गर्न उहाँहरू जस्तो विज्ञहरू हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरू जस्तो विज्ञहरूले यो काउन्सिलिङ गरेर मात्रै हुन्न यो चाहिँ सरकार टु सरकार अब वेपन्स बनाउने क्षेत्रहरूसँग कम्पनीहरूसँग पनि कन्ट्रोल गर्नुपर्ने अवस्था आइसकेको छ। यो द्वन्द्वका कारणले अघि सरले भन्नुभयो जलवायु परिवर्तन। म सोलुखुम्बु, म झापामा जन्मिया हो, म सोलुखुम्बुमा बस्छु। मेरो क्षेत्र सोलुखुम्बु हो। सोलुखुम्बुमा आज मेरै गाउँको कुरा गर्नु पर्दाखेरि त्यहाँ अहिले हाइड्रो पावर 4-5 बनिरहेका छन्। हाइड्रो पावरले गर्दाखेरि त्यो टनेलमा पानी हाल्छ, टनेलबाट पानी एक क्षेत्रबाट अर्को क्षेत्रमा लाँदाखेरि खोला सुक्छ। खोला सुकेका कारणले आज 26 डिग्री सेन्टिग्रेडमा हामी सर्भाइभ गरेका थियौँ भने आज 35-36 डिग्री सेन्टिग्रेड त्यहाँ पुगिसक्यो। लुक्ला नाम्चीमा त्योभन्दा पनि बढ्दै गएको छ। मैले थाहा पाउँदा सोलुखुम्बुमा मच्छर लाग्दैन थियो, आज मच्छर लाग्ने अवस्था भइसकेको छ। जलवायु परिवर्तन अथवा यो वर्ल्डको तापक्रम पनि बढिरहेको छ यो द्वन्द्वले गर्दाखेरि। त्यसलाई पनि कन्ट्रोल एकअर्कासँग यो रिलेटेड भएका कारणले यसलाई चाहिँ कन्ट्रोल गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने मलाई लागेको छ। र श्रीपाद वीरेन्द्रले शान्ति क्षेत्र घोषणा गरेर जुन अवधारणा नेपाललाई शान्ति क्षेत्रको रूपमा वर्ल्डमा राख्नुभयो, कति धेरै देशहरूले नेपाललाई सुरक्षित राख्नका लागि त्यो अवधारणा यहाँ प्रवर्धन गर्नुभएको थियो। आज त्यो प्रवर्धनबाट हामी हटिसकेका छौँ। इन्डियामा पनि अहिंसात्मक आन्दोलन सुरु गर्नुभएको थियो गान्धीजीले। आज त्यसलाई फलोअर्सहरू बढाइराख्नु भएको छ। आज अहिंसात्मक आन्दोलन अथवा अहिंसात्मक समाज चाहिँ क्रिएट गरेर हामी चाहिँ नागरिकहरू अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ। यो द्वन्द्वका कारणले आज हामी मानसिक रूपमा पनि हामी यहाँ आज सत्य देखेका छौँ। आज सिंहदरबारको कङ्क्रिटले के असर गरेको थियो र कसैले सुशासन गरेका थिएन, भ्रष्टाचार गरेका थिएन, एउटा व्यक्तिले गरेका थिएन। सिंहदरबार जलाइयो, अदालतको के दोष थियो? अदालतमा कसैले गरेका थियो होला? व्यक्ति थियो होला। त्यो व्यक्ति टार्गेट भएन, आज इतिहास टार्गेट भयो। र त्यो जल्दाखेरि सिंहदरबार मात्रै जल्यो, हाम्रो आत्मा जलेको छ। मानसिक रूपमा हामी तनावमा छौँ। त्यो तनावलाई कम गर्नका निम्ति द्वन्द्वलाई यो म्यानेजमेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने मलाई लागेको छ। त्यसकारण भविष्यका तपाईँ धेरै कर्णधार बहिनीहरू हुनुहुन्छ, भाइहरू हुनुहुन्छ। आफूलाई नैतिक शिक्षामा पनि आफूलाई नैतिकवान बनाउनेतिर सबैभन्दा ठुलो बढी कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्दै यस कार्यक्रममा मलाई पनि बोलाउनु भएर प्रमुख अतिथिको रूपमा बोलाउनु भएकोमा मनिता ओली म्यामलाई हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन गर्दै उहाँहरू सबैमा नेपाल आएर आफ्ना कुराहरू राख्नुभयो र विद्यार्थी भाइ बहिनीका अगाडि सम्पूर्ण कुरा राख्नुभएकोमा उहाँहरूप्रति हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापन गर्न चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
Respectfully invite Manita ma'am to present a token of love to our distinguished guest and speaker as a gesture of appreciation. Mrs. Srina Upreti ma'am.
Before he's leaving, today this program is really now a great program for all our special students who are the backbones of our nation. But before he's leaving, may I ask you, can you just now give some 3 words that should be now the key takeaway for these students at this moment? Because these are our now the energetic people of nation. 3 key words what they can just now up there carry every day.
Okay, 1 is persistence.
Remember,
This world will tell you, "Oh, you're too young. Oh, come on, you don't have experience. You don't know." Rubbish. Persistence. You have ideas, you drive them forward. Community. Right? You know the old thing. 1 pencil, snap. 30 pencils,
no easy to
You can't break it.
Okay.
there is strength in numbers. Do you have any idea how many of you there are under 30 in Asia Pacific? 2 billion. There are 2 billion young people
Out of
in Asia Pacific who are under 30. Okay? And then the third word that I would say is hope. In our world, everything I live for, I fight for, I am facing nothing but hopelessness. every agreed norm. Do you understand what a norm is? It's when everybody does the same thing, right? We all believe the same thing. A norm, for instance, in disarmament is we don't use anti-personnel landmines because they're indiscriminate. They'll kill people many years after the war is over, right? So there's a norm of non-use. That's under threat. 5 countries have left the landmines treaty, and they've said, no, we need landmines now. Countries are suggesting that they can actually maybe think about nuclear weapons. You can't win a nuclear. Look what progress. So like I said, you have no idea how powerful you are as a part of society. Whether that's here in Nepal looking nationally, or whether that's connecting with your peers across the region, across the world, right? And from my office's side, we run a lot of youth engagement initiatives. If you're interested in peace and security, interested in disarmament, I've left my card, get in touch. We'll put you in touch with our youth coordinator. We'll get you involved. You know, one of the really important things in our field is the feeling of unity, is the feeling of support, right? Of kind of looking around and saying, oh, I'm not the only one that believes this. That community is
One small arm who is joining us.
To see you and to hear you speak so passionately about the things that you care so much about, which is the safety, security, and peace of this world. Quickly, just to address that, for those of you who are new to this process and also to the International Action Network on Small Arms, IANSA is a network of civil society organizations in excess of 700 members across the global south, working to prevent gun violence, harm prevention, and also ensuring safety, security, and peace around the world. All of our partners, the UNODA, the European Union, and others, we support these processes across the globe where our members operate from. And this is one of such events that we are supporting. I'm tasked this morning to speak about the context of the biannual meeting of state, which is the 9th biannual meeting of state under the UN Program of Action, Small Arms and Light Weapons. To cut it short, and like we said, the UN doesn't have shorter names. Usually the names are like a preventing, detecting, diversion of small arms and light weapons. In particular, unauthorized recipients and illicit markets, taking into account technological development. So all these then come down to what do states need to do to ensure that small arms and light weapon proliferation and scale is limited or prevented from harming innocent citizens, including, in particular, women, children, and the youth. This is where the discussion comes down to. And so states come up to report on what they are doing to prevent the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, and practical steps that their states are putting in place. It also offers the opportunity for international cooperation and assistance, which is where then state-to-state cooperation then come in, or a multi-donor assistance or support for states in the action that they are taking, in implementing the POA, which is to prevent illicit trade in small arms, their manufacture, and all that, including the civilian possession, etc. So this is where we come in and say, how do we break this down? What do we want states to do and to focus on? So at the International Action Network on Small Arms IANSA level, we pick the issues and decide that at every point in time, at civil society and with our network, this is what we want our state to focus on. And over the last few years, we have focused on 7 key issues that we want the state to discuss and to focus on at the implementation level, to bring practical meaning to the talk and the conferences. One of it is how to strengthen transfer controls. Transfer controls will mean the trade, which is the import, export, transit, and transshipment of small arms and light weapons. But of course, we include their ammunition in the conversation, even though most of the states have rejected the inclusion of ammunition in the process. Thankfully, the conversation had gone on for many years as to why ammunition should not be included. And in 2018, at the 10th Review Conference, matters came to a head and states eventually accepted to even mention small arms and light weapon ammunition in the process. Through this conversation, the United States nations has set up another process which we call the Global Framework on conventional, true life conventional ammunition. So whatever it is, even if it is not being discussed at the UNPOA level, there is now a separate process to deal with ammunition. Because we believe that the weapon is like a piece of steel without the ammunition. If there is no ammunition, the weapon is as useless as a piece of steel. You can imagine a vehicle without fuel. It doesn't move. That is what how the weapon is. But we have wondered why the discussion is taking place without the inclusion of ammunition, over the years. Of course, some states have resisted the inclusion of ammunition in the process. And as I said, through the effort of civil society and some like-minded states, the process now has begun, to discuss ammunition, parallel to the processes of small arms and light weapons. We say we need to focus on the transfer control. Transfer control in the sense that how does the weapons move from the manufacturer to the lawful recipient without being diverted to unauthorized recipients or to non-state actors who have not been authorized to receive the weapons. This is what we want state to focus on, because if the weapons move and they come to the lawful state's defense or security apparatus who are mandated to use it for lawful purposes, then we are all sure that it will not end up in the hands of some unscrupulous people who will use it to begin to terrorize, innocent citizens of any country. And so we want state to focus on strengthening their transfer control. Then we say controlling of small arms and light weapon ammunition. Because it's a separate process, we do not want to add it to the small arms and light weapons. So the number 2 issue that we'll be focusing on is the control of small arms and light weapon ammunition, which is whether the transfer from the manufacturer to the end user and anything in between. The state will need to focus on the control of ammunition to prevent its abuse and it ending up in the hands of unauthorized recipients for it to be used to commit atrocities and crimes. Having done all this, we consider the third issue is surplus or in excess beyond what you actually need. And also if you have the weapons and ammunition that are also obsolete, especially the unstable ammunition, which in fact and indeed have in many cases, cause what we call unplanned explosion at munition site, which then, affect lives of people and property around the area where these ammunitions are kept, because some of them are as old as the First and the Second World War. And some of the states are keeping these weapons and they do not even have the instrument to fire this ammunition any longer, because the manufacturers of some of the ammunition they are still keeping no longer manufacture the weapons that are used in firing them. And because they are procured and are kept for a very long time, and the passage of time, the chemicals have become obsolete and unstable. But some of the states do not have the capacity to even destroy these ammunitions and the weapons. How would this be done? This will be done through international cooperation and assistance and support for particularly less capacitated states to be able to destroy it for the safety and security that be activated to explode and to cause harm. So if they are sitting in the armories or the ammunition depots of the state, then they should find ways of destroying them so they don't end up in the hands of people and use them to cause harm. These are the issues one state to continue to consider in the discussions at the biennial meeting and also at the review conference. What is important, and I hear we mentioned this, and also James mentioned the issue of gender inclusion and mainstreaming gender. And we say that the full and effective participation of women and other genders should be considered in the discussion, which is the issue number 4. But the issue number 4 is closely tied to issue number 5, which is engaging the youth. Youth engagement is as important. And of course, the mantra of nothing about us without us is an issue that we want the youth and the young people to take seriously, particularly when it comes to the issues of small arms, light weapons, and their ammunition. Because eventually, the young people become the people who are mostly affected in one way or the other. Whether their parents are killed, mommy or daddy, these young people are left to bear the burden. In some states, the youth is militaries to go and fight against their will and against their wishes. Thirdly, decisions are taken about the future of the world and of how weapons and ammunition are managed and controlled. And these decisions are taken for the young people without them, which is why the mantra of nothing about us without us is very important, and people to be involved in conversation and discussions and hope the voice of the young people are heard in the room, about what decisions should be taken about you. We are very passionate about the issues involving you and young people. Then number 6 is what we call the target setting, national target setting. When countries come to these conversations and conferences, what are the issues that are most important to them? And what are the benchmarks that they set in this dealing with the issues of small arms and light weapon ammunition control? We urge states to set targets for themselves and ensure that these targets are, this is where civil society organizations, the young group, and the women group come in to say, what is your benchmark in dealing with these issues? Without just the talk at the conferences, we want to see practical meaning to the talk and say, what are you doing to bring meaning to the discussion and the conversation and the outcomes of the conferences which you all vote for. And so we urge civil society organizations and young people like you to get closer to your national authorities to find out what target they have set for themselves in dealing with these issues that they go to the conferences to talk about and how they intend to achieve these targets. The final issue that we take into the conference include controlling civilian possession. I hear James mention that license is meant to control. Yes, that is the most important. But to ensure that data and record is kept about those who have the weapons and how it is used, that we have record. So civilian possession is very important because invariably some states have passed laws and legislations that allow civilians to possess certain categories of weapons. How do we ensure that these weapons are legally acquired, kept in a way and manner that will not end up in the hands of people who are not authorized to hold these weapons, to use them to commit atrocities and crimes. So it is very important that these issues are taken one after the other and broken down without the technical jargons and issues that we discuss that then get lost in the middle of the conversation. But pick the issues one after the other and ensure that we are getting closer to our state and holding our national officials and national authorities, to be practical in the implementation of the instrument that is signed up to. So this for us are some of the important issues that we want to see state discuss in this year's biannual meetings of states. This BMS 9 is unique in a sense because it also integrates the last issue that I mentioned, technological development, and which we call the OETEG, which is the Open-Ended Technical Expert Group, which was formed at the 4th Review Conference held in 2024, which then mandated the conference to set up an open-ended technical expert group that will look into opportunities and challenges that are offered by new technology in small arms and light weapon and ammunition manufacture. So this year, the conference will dedicate 2 days to look into new technologies and how new technology, affects the manufacturer of small arms and light weapons, their transport, their transfer, their usage, and also what benefits there are in new technologies that can be explored to ensure effective control of small arms and light weapons. So it is both the challenges and opportunities for new technologies. And I think this is also where young people come in with the advent of new technologies which you are pioneering and moving. You need your voices in this area in terms of new technology and its impact on small arms and light weapon control. So this year's conference will have 2 days dedicated to new technology conversation in a panel format, which will have 3 panels to discuss the issues. And one important aspect of it will also include international cooperation and assistance. And as I've mentioned before, how do we use new technology, leverage new technology in terms of our control of small arms, light weapon, physical security, and stockpile management to ensure peace and safety at our ammunition depots and in the various countries. So these are the issues. And so we urge you to get closer to your officials and ask them to focus on these issues. And importantly also, there's an avenue where states are supposed to report on their implementation. And at the last check, as at yesterday, there are 72 countries out of 190 countries who have filed their national reports. So we urge you to get closer to your national authorities for them to complete their national reporting on implementation of the UNPOA. Let me express our sincere gratitude again to the Shubhashree College, to Dr. James Williams and your group, and also importantly to the IANSA Trust Fund that provided or supported us in this process for us to be able to bring this workshop to you, and also to all our stakeholders, to my good friend Ray from the UNRCPD and your team for making this possible and taking time off your very busy schedule to join this process. I thank you very much for the opportunity and for being here. I will remain online if there are questions that you think that you want to ask or you want to know about the BMS 9 and the processes moving forward. Thank you very much.
The audience, yeah?
How can I increase gun control as a youth?
Yeah, that's why in the village or place where you're staying, if you come to know that anybody having done, just report it, not to the police, because I don't really trust police anywhere. not saying no to them. You're only saying that's what is important. Yeah? And Deepayan also mentioned about environment. You know, see, go to the website, look at Greenpeace. Become a volunteer. You don't need to pay anything. You get, I mean, in mountainous region, so much of deforestation, everything is going on. You will get so much information. Just become a volunteer. You don't need to pay anything. You get a lot of information about Nepal. Do a demonstration. There are various ways in which you can agitate on an issue if government is not following it. You have a new government and a new president, so Prime Minister, no?
Prime Minister.
New Prime Minister, you should support him. And you say that you youth, you want to say something and you march to his office and have audiences. I mean, nothing wrong, you can do it. People have done it all over the world. Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Krista.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful remarks and contribution. As we come to the end of today's program, I would now like to invite Mr. Viswanathan Muthukumaran, founder member of SF and URI, to deliver the vote of thanks.
To propose a vote of thanks, and I know it is a Herculean task. I wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Chief Guest, Ms. the Member of the Parliament, for accepting our invitation and gracing this seminar, although she is very busy in the Parliament session. I am very proud to have known her for more than 35 years as a young, active student leader. You have surely added to the charm of this event with your presence. A special thanks to our guest speaker, Mr. Deepan Basu. Unfortunately, he is left as he is very busy, and also his colleague, Ms. Ranjini Thapa. It's a privilege to listen to the thought-provoking speech by Mr. Johnson, Assistant Managing Director of IANSA, and thank you, sir, for your support in organizing this seminar, and also for taking efforts in getting up early in the morning to attend this event. I sincerely thank my mentor, Dr. James Herthudaraj Williams, for his thought-provoking, excellent PowerPoint presentation with his wide knowledge and experience at a global level for decades as an active member of IANSA. I know James, that's how I call him, and he motivated and encouraged me to join young World Federalist movements, and later the Asian Youth Center, and then World Federalist Movement, and later South Asian Federalists. I take this opportunity in thanking James for your continuous support and motivation till today. Thank you, Mr. Rekman, for accepting our request to be the guest of honor, and wish you were elected as one of the trustees of, you are a global trustee.
Congratulations.
Last but not least, special thanks and sincere thanks to Ms. Manita Uli for sparing your valuable time in organizing this seminar single-handedly, along with a busy schedule as a principal of this college. It would have been just impossible to organize this event without your support. I know Manita as a student long time back. Now I see her as the principal of the college. I'm really proud of you. Sincere thanks to the heads of the various departments and students for their cooperation and support in making this event a grand success. I also recognize the presence of Mrs. Renu from AYC, and I met her after 30 years. Thank you so much. And also to those who are participating through Zoom for making time to be with us today, making this seminar a meaningful and a memorable one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All our distinguished speakers, guests, participants, and organizing team members for your valuable presence and contribution. We hope today's discussion will contribute meaningfully towards the preparation for BMS 9 and strengthen regional regional collaboration to the UN Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful day.